Hey, how's it going? And today we are just making a fireball or fiery planet, however you want to look at it. Every time I do this, I get a little different effect, so I'm not exactly sure what it's going to look like myself. Can I say without further ado? Okay, so we're just going to go into effects tools. We're going to go into add emitter, and we just need a couple particles. So for this, I'm just going to type in like 10, and then we just need to make them fly up a little bit. So do something like that. So you just have something that looks like that. Maybe that's too many. Wait. Sorry about that. Maybe just one. Okay, something like this. Just a couple flying up here and there. Okay, and we'll stop it. Let me just get one there. Okay, we're going to be using hypervoxels for this, and hypervoxels is considered legacy. So one weird thing about it is you got to go into render properties, volumetrics, and you got to click that box, or nothing will happen. And then we can go into backdrop. It's kind of weird that it's hidden in here under backdrop, and then it's legacy volumetrics, hypervoxels 3.0, double click that. There's the emitter we just made, and go activate. The reason I got excited about this is that there's some built-in presets, and I was just looking at them the other day, and I actually thought some of them were looking pretty good, and I thought, I wonder if people even still look at this. So let's go into VPR, and then why don't we see anything here? Volume, maybe switch to... Select the camera. There we go. Okay. So let me, can I bring the camera up to see that? Let me just let this run for a minute. There. I didn't really want two of them. Okay. So that's kind of what we get, which looks horrific. Why can't I come up on, oh, there we go. I said, why can't I move the camera and reposition that? Okay. Anyway, so there's our particle, our single particle. And we're on volume right now. Now, here's what's cool. If you press F8, it brings up these presets, and there's a whole bunch of them. But there's one here, this one, the very first one, Fireball. And we go, okay, yes. And then we get this thing. To be completely honest with you, I looked at this before, and I wasn't that impressed. And this doesn't look anything like, even if we go into the F8 thing, it does, this does not look like that. I mean, it sort of does. It sort of doesn't. So some of the settings we can play with here is if we go into shading, we can turn down thickness or turn it up, down. Usually that should make it look better. Let's bring down density. So you're getting something that maybe looks more like, I don't know, plasma or something, but I'm having a hard time getting it to look like that. But if we switch to sprite, then I think we start getting something that looks kind of like the little thumbnail over here. So, but I actually wanted to try to make it look like a planet. So let's play around with some of the settings and just see how far we can go. Okay, so the size, I make it, at least a meter, and that's about all you can do here. And then if we come into shading, there's some gradients here we can look at adjusting, but first let's just go to the number. This increases the number of slices, and when you do that, you got to turn the density back up. Now, I think I turned down, this one here really has a big effect. So the turbulence and amplitude is something you might want to play with. Because see, if I turn it down, I really get something that starts to look more planetary. And that's actually what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get something that looks planetary, but then has like some turbulence around the edges there. So I think that's sort of it right there. And then of course you can play with frequencies and contrast. Contrast kind of helps a little bit, increasing that. And then actually you can switch out these two, and that kind of gives you some different effects. So just those, the amplitude, texture effect, and then the frequencies, contrast, small power, adjust it to where you like it. But what I'm looking at right now looks pretty cool. Now, if I come here, I can also play around with these a little bit. So the density is going to make it a little more, appear more irregular, I think. Let's see if I bring it down. And then the opacity, let's see what that does here. That kind of gives it more of a fireballish look, I think, without that bright yellow look, and that's bringing down the opacity. So it just depends what you want to do, The luminosity, so if we go in here, we click the T, we can adjust these. And so if you just play around with them, you can see the effects. So that really dulls things out there. Let's try this one. I think this one makes it rid of this banding, this cloud thing. That might be a little too much. So you can just play around with adjusting these. It gives you a good sense of what things do by doing this. And then you can kind of deconstruct it yourself. I kind of liked it more like, maybe like that. Okay, and then there's another one here. This is the luminosity. And of course you can play around with the color. So here, if you drag this out, this top one down, I think it lightens up the outer edge here. And that of course lightens the whole thing up. So you just play around with these different settings and see what you can come up with, you know. I think you can also do some things in post. Like if I put an S curve on this, I notice that really brings out kind of some nice details in it too. And that's it. That's it. So if I hit F8, you know, this is a lot more circular than this is. So in a sense, to me, this looks more like a planet or something like that. And like I said, if you want to go into hypertexture and adjust the amplitude, you can really make it look a little more planetary. So let's leave it like that, because I think that's what I call this was Fiery Planet or something. But I think it's worth messing around with. I think it's these presets. Like if I keep going, that really is starting to look like something. Especially if you put this as a prop in the background, like a background object in the sky, up in the sky. It just depends what you want. So if you go all the way down, you're really getting more of a plasma kind of looking thing. So actually that kind of looks cool. Like it looks almost volcanic. I want to leave that. I kind of like that, the look of that. And so just play around with the settings and see what you can come up with. I'd really be curious to know. So anyway, that's all I had for today. Take care, have a great day, and I'll talk to you next time.